What's up, guys? We are back with another Mythic Legions review, taking a look at a 1.0 figure that I got in the recent in-stock sale that, frankly, I have been trying to get for a while. I just could never pin down the best deal. Thankfully, we did not have to go an expensive route, and we got him for retail price. So today we're taking a look at VORGUS VERMILLIUS, the Blood Armor, a figure, a character with a backstory alone that made me want to get him, but this is one of my favorite piece configurations, so I'm really excited to look at this one. We've got him here in our standard Legions box, of course, collector-friendly packaging. He's in the window, Legions logo on the bottom. There's a bio for this guy on the side, and then the back of the package has got a write-up for Mythos, a lineup of figures from 1.0, and then that original backer card artwork. So let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, our VORGUS VERMILLIUS, the Blood Armor figure. This thing is really cool to me for a number of reasons. It has basically the makeup of my favorite suit of armor in the entire line. I love everything about the parts usage on this guy. This is my favorite head sculpt in the entire line on pretty much any given day. I love the background for this character. The bio on this guy in particular is incredibly cool. Basically, this is an enchanted suit of armor that consumes the life essence of whatever is wearing it. And it consumed a vampire, one of the earliest vampires. The armor is created by two of the biggest demons in the line, Azar and Zazar, the blue and yellow guys, which are some of my favorite figures. So it all kind of ties together and just makes for a cool looking figure, but one that also has a cool backstory if you care about the background stuff in Legions. So let's jump in and see what this guy can do. He is a 1.0 figure, so you're probably not going to be too surprised by what he can do. So you've got a head that can look up, he can look down, bobble side to side and rotate. I've obviously got pauldrons on him because he has a cape, so you kind of need those on just to give the full effect. Arms go out, pauldrons are going to get in the way, they rotate. You've got swivel and hinge elbow, as is the case with pretty much all Legions. You've got rotating forearm, rotating wrist, and hinges. We've got a ball joint at the waist here, so you can go tilt side to side, backwards, forwards, and then rotation. The legs on this guy go all the way out. They will kick forward all the way, and they also go backwards all the way too. You can cut at the thigh. You've got a single rotating knee, and then we've got rotation at the ankle, rocker, and you've got hinges. So he is pretty par for the course when it comes to Mythic Legions. It's just the way it is, because he's an older figure, just re-released in the more recent All-Stars 2 wave. So if you've messed around with anything that looks like this, then you know what he can do. But he still moves around really well, and you can get him into some quite menacing poses with pretty minimal effort. Frankly, though, none of that really matters when it comes down to how he looks, because that's the selling point for me. His background coupled with the look. And I'm very much interested in the backstories for these characters, so I don't really make up my own thing. I like to go with the bios and have factions and have them tied together and understand what the Horsemen are doing when it comes to making these characters look the way they do. And this guy very much sells the idea that this is a suit of armor that is kind of a weeping blood at pretty much any given time. It's all covered in a subtle yet heavy dry brushing of red paint. It's basically a dark underbody with red all over it, and it looks different and in different lights. It looks more crimson or vermilion based on his name, obviously, and you can see certain highlights of red better at certain places. Like there are little hints of a deeper red on the fringes of the shoulder pads or on the girdle or down here on the feet, for example. It's mostly like a really dark, deep red, but then you can see highlights of lighter red here and there to make it look like it's sort of oozing blood at any given time, which is how I try to interpret it. I've already said that this is my favorite suit of armor when it comes to this line, and it's mostly this head sculpt, but I do dig just about everything else here on this guy. I love these knight style boots. I love this loincloth piece with this kind of girdle area that they have here. Love the torso, and then of course these big pauldrons that go with this. These would be considered accessories, but of course to have the soft goods on there, you need the pauldrons at the same time. And I think it's just implemented incredibly well if you are interested in the backstory here. I think that helps add a little more enjoyment to this particular look, because if you don't understand what he looks like or what he's supposed to be, then it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's just, okay, that's a dark chocolatey suit of armor with some red paint all over it. But when you understand that, no, this is a demon suit of armor that is consuming something inside of it, it makes it look that much cooler when you kind of buy into the idea of this character. And then of course it's all topped off with my favorite head sculpt in the line. I love this helmet. There is not a single figure that has this head sculpt that I don't use it on. It's just my favorite. I love this helmet design. I love that slit down the front. I love that eye slit. And then I love the horns, and you can of course move these around. But on this guy in particular, I love to have them facing forward. Normally I don't do that, but on this guy it just sort of works for me. And then you've also of course got your soft goods cape, which pegs into the back, held on by the pauldrons. This is kind of the weak spot for the figure, I think, because this is not the greatest cape. Something about this just seems kind of stiff and rigid. You can definitely get it to flow really well, but at this point, after playing with this guy quite a bit for this review and kind of, you know, just putting him through his paces, this is probably the first Legions I've got where I said, you know what, I really want to spring and get a different cape for him just to have something a little more robust, a little bit more free-flowing, because this really does only do kind of one thing. But it looks good when you have it posed correctly, so I suppose it's not all bad. It just could be a better spot. But otherwise, it's one little tiny thing for me on an overall amazing action figure. Now, as far as accessories goes, VORGUS VERMILLIUS has a pretty standard array of accessories just because of the fact that he is a 1.0 figure that, of course, was re-released. So he has a relatively sparse array because that's just kind of how it was back then. So to start with, you've got one of the long spears here, and it's just done up in silver. So we've seen this a whole bunch of times at this point. Nothing crazy here, but you've got one. We've got one of the long swords, which this is my favorite of the long swords in this line. A darker silver for the blade, and then you've got a hilt and handle that matches his armor in terms of kind of the dark undercolor, and then you've got hints of red and crimson colors under there. And then you've got the big boy here. You've got the big axe piece, which I absolutely love this axe. I think it looks great. It's done up in exactly the same kind of style as the sword is, so it matches his armor. And then this is also one of the ones that one of these sides is going to pop off, and then you can cap it off with this guy here to make it a single-sided axe instead of being double-bladed. So I dig that, of course. We've got the strap, as is the case for all figures, and then we've got more of the wing adapters, so I will add these to the pile to be melted down and maybe reforged into another Mythic Legions figure one day. But he does come with enough weaponry for sure. He doesn't come with nothing. He just has kind of a standard assortment, but that's from the timeline in which he was created. So overall, this is a figure that, frankly, if you're into Legions, you have to have if you don't actually already have him. There's a reason why this guy is still so sought after on the secondary market. Even though he's been reissued, he's just cool. He comes with a lot of old 1.0 body parts that work to make an incredibly awesome looking figure, and he just looks cool. That's really what it comes down to. He looks cool. I do think that buying into the bio on this guy and the backstory helps enjoy this figure a little more, because this guy was voted on by the fan community. His story creates what he looks like, and I think it works incredibly well to get that idea across. I think that the idea of an enchanted, demonic, energy-sucking suit of armor is sold really well through how this guy looks, and it just all ties together to make a really fun package. So if you're into the bios and you want this figure, you're going to really enjoy the complete deal, because he definitely reflects the story behind him. So that's going to do it for this look at the Mythic Legions VORGUS VERMILLIUS. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.